The stories presented in this video are real, but we have changed the characters' names and altered images to protect their identities. The creator of this video is not an investigative officer. These narratives have been sourced from various internet platforms. Our intent is not to accuse or target anyone in particular. Thank you for understanding.
Around 10 p.m. on the night of May 4th, 2018, Sarah Taylor entered her bedroom and made a terrible discovery. She discovered Alex Taylor, her husband, dead on the bed, his body rigid and cold. Alex's eyes were fixed in a perpetual look, and he had a belt fastened around his neck. Sarah's hand went to her mouth and she stifled a cry as her heart fell. Her fingers were shaking violently as she reached for her phone to dial 911. Sarah's voice was hardly audible as she reported the situation, and the 911 operator responded promptly. "He's not breathing, my husband. I believe he is dead." Her voice was laced with astonishment and fear as she mumbled. When Sarah contacted 911 after finding her husband dead, the operator remained on the line, asking her questions to help her stay calm and collect information while sending emergency personnel to their residence. Paramedics reached the Taylor home in a matter of minutes. Oakwood Drive, a normally peaceful suburban neighborhood, was filled with sirens. Paramedics hurried in, their expressions solemn and intent. The paramedics verified the worst inside the bedroom. Alex had passed away, while the other paramedics started to secure the area, being cautious not to touch or disrupt anything. The first paramedic gently led Sarah out of the room. As the situation's reality set in, the air was filled with the sound of Sarah's agonized sobs. The seriousness of the situation was further enhanced by the paramedics' solemn looks and low voices. Alex Taylor, 39, was the CEO of Taylor Technologies Inc. and a self-made millionaire. He went to Bedminster Township Public Schools while growing up in Bedminster, New Jersey. Alex excelled academically and graduated with a bachelor's degree in computer science from Stanford University. After graduating from college, he co-founded his first business and went on to start Taylor Technologies, Inc., which rose to prominence as a leading provider of software solutions worldwide. Alex became well known after his business, Taylor Technologies, Inc., created a groundbreaking artificial intelligence platform that revolutionized the technology sector. Investors, the media, and the general public were drawn to the platform's inventive features and enormous potential, which propelled Alex to the top of the IT industry. Alex's profile expanded along with his company's. He rose to prominence as a speaker, appearing on the stages of prestigious IT events and conferences. With interviews on top news channels and featured in prestigious publications, he became a media favorite due to his captivating personality, innovative thoughts, and inspirational entrepreneurial journey. Alex met Sarah, his wife, during this period. As an accomplished event planner, she was in charge of setting up a well-known tech conference with Alex as the keynote speaker. Although their first meeting was brief, they clearly clicked. A few weeks later, they reconnected at a charity dinner, and their romance took off. Alex appreciated Sarah's grace, composure, and commitment to her art, while Sarah was attracted to Alex's zeal, wit, and generosity. They forged a strong alliance, encouraging one another's pursuits and having a strong passion for charitable giving and civic involvement. The tech and social elite attended their dream wedding, which marked the end of their whirlwind relationship. Top lifestyle magazines covered the couple's romance, solidifying their place as one of the most well-known and respected power couples in the business. With a roaring 40s theme, Alex was organizing a lavish 40th birthday party that would include A-list attendees, a lavish setting, and live jazz music. The celebration, which was to be held aboard a yacht with stunning views of the Manhattan cityscape, was being planned by his wife, Sarah. But before Alex could celebrate this significant birthday, his life was sadly cut short, leaving behind a community in mourning and an unfulfilled party. Detective Emily Rodriguez and her partner, Detective Michael Chen, led the police to the scene, and they came quickly. Detective Chen was renowned for his keen understanding of human nature, and Detective Rodriguez was noted for her painstaking attention to detail. They got right to work on their investigation. Detective Rodriguez quickly assessed the murder scene, her face darkening as she surveyed the messy bedroom. On the floor were an empty cookie packet, a discarded wrapper from a nearby bakery, and 2 coffee mugs, one of which had a hint of lipstick on it. On the nightstand, the satin gown was thrown over a lamp. The bed linens were untucked and the blankets thrown away. On the bed lay Alex's nude body, a belt around his neck, the scars of a bloody struggle visible on his face. It was a terrible and heartbreaking scene. Alex may have known his assailant because there were no indications of forced entry. An intimate encounter appeared to have descended into violence. The lipstick and the second coffee mug indicated that Alex was not by himself in the final hours before he passed away. More answers would come from the autopsy. The detectives were meticulous, making sure they didn't overlook anything that could shed light on what had transpired. Detective Rodriguez started gathering evidence right away. He meticulously took fingerprints from different surfaces in the room in the hopes of finding a match in the police database. To make sure that all of the evidence was recorded, Detective Chen concentrated on getting close-up pictures of the incident. After discovering the belt used as a murder weapon, the detectives carefully packaged it for additional examination. Additionally, they took DNA samples from beneath Alex's fingernails, suggesting that he may have scratched his assailant in self-defense. Outside, the forensic team showed up and got to work, meticulously and urgently processing the scene. In addition to gathering hair samples and fibers from the bed and surrounding area, they utilized a specialized light to search for any body fluids that might offer more hints. Each piece of evidence was important, and they were aware that it would take careful attention to detail to piece together the circumstances that led to Alex's untimely death. A few interested neighbors peered out from behind their blinds and whispered to one another in low voices while the forensic team worked. However, most stayed away because they were afraid of what might have transpired and didn't want to put themselves in danger. Only the rare passing automobile broke the eerie quietness in the street. The community was left to deal with the shock and tragedy of the incident, and there was a noticeable air of anxiety. Despite the case's complexity, Detectives Rodriguez and Chen persisted in their investigation as the afternoon wore on. They stayed committed to learning the truth and identifying the perpetrator of this heinous crime. They were aware that a comprehensive and rigorous approach, examining every possibility, was necessary to solve Alex's murder. Motivated by the need to provide justice for Alex and his bereaved family, they put in endless effort. Sarah Taylor, Alex's wife, was the first person called to the police station to be questioned in connection with Alex's murder on the morning of May 5th. She had previously had a brief conversation with Detectives Rodriguez and Chen at the scene, but they now needed to probe more. After escorting her into the interview room, they started questioning her in an attempt to find any discrepancies in her alibi or possible reasons for the crime. During the interrogation, Sarah Taylor was pressed to explain her whereabouts on the night of Alex's death by Detectives Rodriguez and Chen, who kept their gaze on her. Sarah supported her alibi with emails and texts, claiming to be working late at a location to finalize preparations for an impending wedding. Her story appeared credible at first, but as the investigators probed further, they discovered that her behavior was inconsistent. Sarah's extraordinary zeal to prove her alibi and her unprompted repeated claims of innocence raised doubts. As she spoke, Sarah's hands trembled, and the detective saw that she constantly looked around the room without making eye contact. As she responded to their inquiries, Her voice faltered a little, and she looked unduly preoccupied with proving her innocence. Sensing that Sarah could be concealing something, Detectives Rodriguez and Chen exchanged a knowing look. In order to confirm Sarah's alibi and find any possible inconsistencies, they made the decision to look into her activities in further detail. Additionally, they noted that they will get in touch with the location to verify Sarah's account and see if anyone could attest to her being there on the day of the murder. The investigators started by looking at security footage from the Nashville, Tennessee location where Sarah allegedly worked late on the night of her husband Alex's death, organizing a wedding reception. As they investigated further, they looked at video from a local hotel that showed Sarah arriving on the afternoon of May 3, 2018. An individual with sunglasses and a fedora hat was observed going into her room around an hour later. This person remained with Sarah until approximately 3 o'clock in the evening. After a few minutes, Sarah followed the person in the fedora out of the room. After sharing a kiss in the parking lot, they were seen leaving in different cars and going in different directions. The investigators became suspicious after learning this new information, wondering who this enigmatic individual was and how they related to Sarah and the murder investigation. They made the decision to look into Sarah's activities more thoroughly and try to figure out who was wearing the fedora. Reviewing previous footage, they found that the individual wearing the fedora was a young blonde man. Still, there were questions. Who was he? What was his connection to Sarah? And was he involved in Alex's killing? In addition, when the investigators looked into Sarah's alibi, they discovered that she had stated that she had been working late the night of the murder at the Nashville location, organizing a wedding. It became evident that Sarah had lied about her activities during that period when they learned that she had canceled her scheduled meetings for March 3rd and 4th, which ran counter to her first story. As a second suspect, the investigators pursued the 23-year-old fitness model and businessman, who was well known for his attractive grin and toned body. His social media account, The Muscle Maverick, had a sizable fan base, especially among older ladies who were drawn to his tough appearance and muscular build. There were rumors that he catered to his clients' private wishes and provided them with more than just fitness advice, making him a popular gigolo. There were rumors that he had a black book with the names of his powerful and affluent clientele, and that his services were in great demand. It was claimed that he had a gift for making women feel wanted and valued, and that people looking for excitement and company were drawn to him because of his charisma and beautiful looks. The detectives pondered whether his relationship with Alex's wife, Sarah Taylor, was more than a coincidence, and whether his dubious occupation could be connected to the murder inquiry. They also wondered if he had a reason to permanently quiet Alex, and if his relationship with Sarah was a passing affair or something darker. As they looked further, they found that the Muscle Maverick had a track record of showing up when women were looking for attention and were in the right location at the right time. One thing was certain, but his exact motives were still unknown. The murder inquiry was suddenly interested in him. Detectives Rodriguez and Chen made the decision to question Maverick in the afternoon of May 6th because they were interested in learning more about his relationship with Sarah Taylor and possible link to Alex's death. They escorted him to the interview room where he sat down with an unflinching air of confidence. To the surprise of the detectives, Maverick responded to every inquiry honestly and candidly, without hesitation or deception. He disclosed that he and Sarah had started a romantic relationship after meeting at a fitness event. Although Maverick acknowledged that he was aware of Alex, he maintained that their connection was voluntary and that Sarah had told him about her unhappy marriage. After leaving Sarah, he claimed to have been at a photo shoot when Alex was murdered, denying any participation in the killing. When the detectives pressed for more details, Maverick's answers were direct and honest, prompting them to question if he was being truthful or deceiving them. Detectives Rodriguez and Chen continued to have concerns about Maverick's remarks in spite of his open answers. They made the decision to find the photographer who had collaborated with him on the day of Alex's murder in order to confirm his alibi. The time frame matched Maverick's claim, and the photographer attested to his attendance at the photo session. But the cops spotted something odd when they looked over the pictures from the shoot. The photographer noted that Maverick had gotten an enigmatic phone call during the shoot and had stepped aside to answer it, and that Maverick's actions during the session were unduly scripted. The police started re-examining Maverick's comments in order to look for any more possible flaws in his tale, as this new evidence heightened suspicions about his possible involvement in Alex's murder. Suspecting that Maverick and Sarah's conversation would provide important details regarding Alex's murder, detectives Rodriguez and Chen made the decision to look more closely at their correspondence logs. In an effort to find any questionable encounters, they secured warrants to monitor their communications and call history. They discovered after reviewing the documents that Maverick and Sarah exchanged a lot of texts and phone conversations in the days preceding Alex's death. Despite their obscure nature, the letters discussed solving the situation and alluded to a covert gathering. Maverick texted Sarah, "I'll take care of it. You'll be free shortly." The police believe that Maverick and Sarah might have been plotting Alex's murder, and that the issue might be related to him. On Sarah's phone, investigators also found a number of deleted messages that had been recovered with the aid of sophisticated software. With their sexual content and expressions of affection, these texts showed a closer bond between Sarah and Maverick. The detectives made a startling find while they were still going through Maverick's phone records. Another source with whom Maverick had been in regular contact had been receiving Sarah's nude photos. The contact's number belonged to a man named Victor, and he made explicit requests and remarks about Sarah's pictures in his texts to Maverick. As the investigators became aware of the extent of Maverick's deception, their eyes grew wide. In addition to controlling Sarah, he had been using her for his personal benefit by giving a third-party access to private images. According to this fresh evidence, Maverick was at the center of a convoluted game of cat and mouse, pulling the strings. Victor also made reference to the plan and receiving payment in his messages, which suggested a more complex scheme. Victor might be more than just a recipient of illegal images, the police believed. He might have participated in Alex's murder. With this fresh lead, the investigators made the decision to find Victor in an effort to disentangle the web of lies and secrets Maverick had woven. The case was about to take a more nasty and dark turn, but they were one step closer to finding the truth. As they followed Victor's number to a well-known address, Alex Taylor's office building, the investigators' gazes were fixed on the screen. The link was unbelievable to them. Sarah's private photographs were sent to Victor, who happened to be Alex's personal secretary. They swiftly secured a warrant to arrest Victor and question him. Victor was tensely fidgeting at his desk when they got to Alex's office. Although he appeared shaken, his discomfort was heightened by the investigators' presence. The facts started to come to light as they led him back to the interrogation room. Victor's expression changed to one of calculation as he disclosed his actual motivations. He had planned the meeting between Sarah and Maverick and used their manipulation to forward his own plan. Victor had intended to blackmail Sarah by using her graphic images and threatening to reveal her secrets to Alex unless she made a sizable payment. Victor's clever strategy, which took advantage of Sarah's weakness for his own benefit, horrified the detectives. Victor went on to confess everything that they had planned. He and Maverick had made the decision to proceed with the blackmail plan on the evening of May 3rd. Maverick had been given the go-ahead to start the plan when Victor called him during his photo shoot. But things didn't work out the way they had hoped. Sarah didn't want to pay, and Victor's threats hadn't worked as planned. They made up the story that they had previously emailed Alex the incriminating images in an effort to scare her. And he had been startled to learn of Alex's passing the next day. The detectives made the decision to follow Sarah's path on the day of Alex's murder after Victor's confession. They followed her as she left and made her way home by accessing the CCTV footage from the event she was organizing. The video showed an unexpected diversion. During her journey, Sarah had spent around an hour at a shopping center. After some research, it was discovered that Sarah had bought some heavy-duty trash bags and a huge container of cleaning solution at the mall. As they pursued her, the investigators' suspicions increased. Sarah had parked her car in a quiet area close to her house after leaving the mall. She was seen sitting in the car for a number of minutes on the CCTV tape, although it's unclear what she was doing. She then exited and disappeared from view as she made her way to her home. What Sarah had done in those brief moments in the automobile was a mystery to the detectives. Was she planning anything more sinister, or had she just been collecting her thoughts? Although the finding of the garbage bags and cleaning solution suggested a potential cleanup, they still required hard proof to connect Sarah to Alex's killing. Sarah was observed quickly leaving her home at approximately 11 p.m. with a disturbed appearance. She hurried back to the event center after getting into her car. Detectives Rodriguez and Chen anxiously anticipated the autopsy results from the case's medical team the next day. In particular, they had asked for a detailed examination of the evidence gathered from Alex's body. They were looking over the report when they noticed one particular detail. The lipstick that was discovered on Alex's cheek was Sarah's go-to shade. It was a special combination that could only be found at upscale stores. The link between Sarah and the crime site was reinforced by this revelation. But another important piece of evidence produced an unexpected outcome. There was no DNA in Alex's nails, even though there were obvious traces of a struggle. After following Sarah to her residence, detectives Rodriguez and Chen hauled her in for additional interrogation. She finally consented to go to the station with them while they awaited the processing of the search warrant. As investigators carried out the search warrant on Sarah's vehicle, they discovered a few pieces of cloth lodged in the door handle. They sent them to a laboratory for examination. The detectives brought the most recent evidence to Sarah in an interrogation room at the station. They showed her the CCTV footage of her return to the event hall, as well as the lipstick analysis results. Sarah's expression changed as she tried to keep her cool, her eyes darting back and forth. Sensing a weakness in her facade, the investigators persisted in their quest to learn the truth. In a calculated move, the investigators informed Sarah that they had discovered indisputable proof that she was responsible for Alex's death. They saw her attitude change from one of defiance to one of despair. Tears filled Sarah's eyes as she started to cry that she hadn't intended to kill him. Sensing a breakthrough, the detectives exchanged a knowing look. They persisted in pressing her for information regarding the circumstances behind Alex's passing. Sarah's confession came flooding out. She disclosed that she had been trying to keep Maverick silent since he had been threatening to reveal her darkest secrets to Alex. She had rushed home with the intention of confronting Alex and keeping him from viewing the embarrassing pictures. However, he was already there when she got there, having just returned from a late-night business function. She was afraid that he was opening his phone to reveal the photographs that Maverick had sent. However, the situation had become lethal. Alex had become suspicious as she attempted to pry the phone from his hands, and a struggle broke out. Sarah never intended for it to end tragically, but in the heat of the moment she had grabbed the belt hanging next to the bed and choked Alex. With their thoughts spinning at the intricacy of Sarah's motivations, the detectives listened in astonished silence. They had anticipated a crime of passion, but this was something much darker, a desperate and terrified attempt to silence Alex. The case against Sarah was considered solid after the confession. She was taken into custody and accused of first-degree murder. The prosecution's strong evidence of her guilt led to a speedy trial. The court's decision was delivered on May 15, 2018. Sarah received a death sentence after being proven guilty. As the judge's remarks lingered and the gravity of the sentencing set in, the courtroom became silent. The date of execution was June 2, 2018. Sarah's destiny was set. Her eyes appeared to beg for forgiveness as she was taken away in handcuffs, but it was too late. The legal system had served its purpose, and she would soon be subject to the harshest punishment possible for her offense. Outrage and criticism erupted on social media and in the press as word of Sarah's death sentence spread like wildfire. The public's response was fast and harsh. Many people demanded that she be put to death or allowed to rot in prison. The enthusiasm of the populace gradually gave place to a gloomy contemplation as the execution date drew near. The story of Sarah, the desperate and blackmailed wife, turned into a warning on the terrible results of lying and keeping secrets.